Hi, welcome back to What Was That? So as I said, in my 30s, I brought myself somewhere where I had felt drawn for years and years before I brought myself there. And there was this man that when he walked into the same room as me, there was an energy wake that followed him so thick that I followed the man in the energy wake going, who is that? What is that? What was that? So, again, like I said, so that man's energy and wake of his energy was very it caught my attention. Whose attention would that not catch if they had that experience? And I did hear a get out, like being screamed, get out. Okay. And I was like, what was that? That scream, get out, was my ego. Okay. This man and I had a connection, I'll call it a spiritual connection. And in meeting him and interacting with him and whatnot, it actually brought me through a spiritual awakening. And that get out was my ego, because my ego knew that this encounter was a threat to my very existence and way of living that I had been in. Now, see, I always, when I was a kid, I felt drawn and called for a spiritual life and whatnot, and felt like I was here to, help other people, not just myself, like heal myself and grow myself and evolve spiritually, but also be like kind of a teacher and be a way shower and help people, okay? But living in this world, a lot of us, even those of us that felt this calling, they can sometimes just kind of take on the ways of the world and just try to live what seems like a normal normal life, okay, and lifestyle. And I had done that. So, I was very much ego driven, and, my life was very much not so much about the spiritual aspects any longer. Even though I knew that was that was me through and through, the spiritual side. But I had kind of neglected that for many years. And so my ego knew that this was a threat to the ego. Now the ego is actually, it performs like self-preservation kind of tactics, and it keeps us in loops of storylines and keeps us in fear attached to those storylines. But anyway, so my ego was like, get out, because it knew that if I interacted with this man, that was going to change everything. And it did. It really did change everything. So we started, talking, and that's not a big deal. I mean, we're just having conversations and stuff, but things started to really get crazy when one day I was doing a certain type of test with this man. And I was nervous, and I didn't even understand all of why I was maybe nervous. So it was very nerve-wracking, but I was like, regardless, I'm taking the test, I'm doing this test and whatnot. Well, in the test, you have to put this mask on your face because they're measuring like oxygen intake and output, and looking at your anaerobic and your aerobic levels and your heart rate. They're looking at a lot of different things. Okay, so it's like a metabolic-y kind of testing. Okay, and so to put this mask on, I could only put it on, but to make sure it's secure enough and tight enough for the duration of this test. He helped me to put this mask on. And when he did, his hand in the back, I'm holding my hand or hands in the back of my head. And when he did his hand grazed my hand. And when it happened, I felt like something went washed over me, through me. It's hard to describe. It's almost like it was so, I like to liken it to surviving an atomic bomb. And so that was like like feeling like something's washed through me or pushed through me, or I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like this brilliant white light, and then everything went topsy-turvy kind of in a way. Like, I mean, I could still see things, but I mean, it had me questioning what happened, what everything was in life, okay? It definitely was like surviving an atomic bomb. That's kind of what it really felt like for me. Although it wasn't painful, it just was like so like sudden and like this big burst and flash of light, and then I was back to reality, but reality didn't seem right. It just felt like everything was just different. So yeah, what was that? I'll come back and share more, but thanks for listening.